Well, I'm going to be honest, I did not expect to be still in this series, but the Sixers and Knicks, one of the best first-round playoff series that anybody has seen. It's just great. It has everything. Has dramatic finishes, controversial calls, fan bases going back and forth at each other on the internet, Joel Embiid turning himself into the number one villain in New York, although that might change a little bit after last night. Big shots, collapses, close games, low-scoring games that reminds you of the 90s. This series has had everything, and I guess we'll just start with Game 6 yesterday. I liked that, I'm sure a lot of Sixer fans expected that they were just going to do what they have done in elimination games, which is roll over. And I thought for the most part, they did not do that. On the Sixer side, I thought offensively to start the game, especially in the first half, I actually thought the Sixers were missing a lot of wide open looks. Every time Joel Embiid got the ball, it was clear he was in facilitator mode and just wanted no parts of shooting or scoring. Just didn't have any lift. And the few times he did, it was just front rim, back rim, aiming at the rim rather than shooting it normally. But I will give him credit. He did get off the ball early. He did make a lot of nice passes and reads, or reads where he makes the simple pass out of a double team and then ping pong around the perimeter. And whether it was Kelly Oubre or Kyle Lowry or even Tyrese Maxey to start the game, because he had a great game, but to start the game I thought he was shaky. They were all just bricking open threes. And it was kind of ironic that Tobias Harris, the much maligned Tobias Harris, was really the only Sixer with any sign of life on both ends of the floor. Tobias Harris took and made his open shots. He did have some dumb decisions in transition, like one time in the second half, he had like a 2-on-3 fast break. He had Maxey streaking down on the right side of the three-point line on the right wing, and Tobias Harris decided to dribble in and take a pull-up 12-footer that he front-rimmed. So there was still shit like that. But compared to what Tobias was giving us in this series and for the last month and a half of the regular season, really, we will absolutely take 19 points, 6 rebounds on 7 of 11 shooting, and pretty good defense. I actually think Tobias in this series, at least in one-on-one isolation defense or whenever he switched onto Brunson, I've actually thought Tobias has played well in that regard, but Jalen Brunson is just too tough with the footwork, the herky-jerky style. Tobias just has trouble guarding that, so even if Tobias holds it down for the whole shot clock, there's still just a sliver of space he gives up to Brunson, and he's able to, pull off a floater or a fadeaway with his lefty jumper. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. I thought Tobias has actually played really well in those situations. Other than that, he's been an abject disaster. But in this game yesterday, he really did give the Sixers life, which was really fucking funny and very Sixers-like to happen, to have some weird shit like that happen. But it's the story of the Sixers. When they go up 9 or whatever it was by the end of the first quarter, Nick Nurse took out Joel Embiid with like 2 minutes left in the first quarter, and Embiid came back with like 8 minutes to go in the second quarter, and in the near 4 minutes of time Paul Reed was on the floor, he was a -5, which is kind of just like the story of everything. And it's just so frustrating too, because it just feels like the non-Embiid minutes are just, for some reason, every time Embiid goes to the bench, it's just a stretch of uniquely bad play. Like, there's a few plays here and there where maybe the tide turns and maybe the Sixers get a bucket or two. Like, in the fourth quarter, Maxey missed 2 free throws while Embiid was on the bench. A missed offensive rebound here, or Paul Reed tries to grab the offensive rebound but gets it stripped, or a transition bucket off of a miss. And it's just stuff like that. It's not even just that the non-Embiid minutes are bad. They're uniquely bad in that it's like, oh my God, this is instantly untenable. Then Jalen Brunson got going in the second quarter and kind of sparked, what I thought was going to be a haymaker that would continue into the second half. But Maxey would not let that happen in the second quarter, or at least towards the end of the second quarter. And in that third quarter, I actually thought the Sixers were running some good offense and really felt like everybody was kind of clicking on all cylinders a little bit. Tyrese Maxey really started getting it going. Tobias Harris still continued his solid play, although there were some dumb plays, like I mentioned, in the middle of the third quarter. Embiid was at least passable offensively, had 4 assists in the third quarter, but they absolutely played better defense on Jalen Brunson. And then that fourth quarter, man. And I don't know, I really didn't I know I've been complaining about the non-Embiid minutes all series, and it's a very, very tough situation, a rock and a hard place for Nick Nurse, because if Embiid sits, the Sixers fall apart. But if Embiid is on the floor right now, do you want him to run the whole second half and be tired towards the end? And boy, did that rear its ugly head in the fourth quarter. Sixer fans have seen that fourth quarter in the playoffs plenty of times from Embiid. Injured, tired because he has to stay on the floor because his team can't function like a normal NBA team when he is off the floor. And then you get the lazy turnovers, the bad shots where, there was a mid-range jumper he caught off of a Maxey pocket pass in the fourth quarter, and that shit went so far beyond the back rim. It hit the back rim and the backboard at the same time. He front rimmed a 3. Just clearly was not there. And it just looked like it was going to be another all-time, bad elimination game from Joel Embiid. And we'll talk about Joel Embiid's game in a second because, you know what? No, I'm really going to save that for later on. But Maxey, the godsend. Thank you, Mike Muscala, by the way. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, just look up Mike Muscala's game-winning shot against the Miami Heat towards the end of the regular season and the bubble season. But Tyrese Maxey in that fourth quarter was absolutely spectacular. It got to a point where it was very clear Joel Embiid had 4 really bad turnovers in that fourth quarter. And it got to the point where it was like the Sixers just need to run high pick and roll with Tyrese Maxey every time down the court. And the only time Embiid should be touching the ball is if he's catching the ball off of a pick and pop, or that short pick and pop 12-foot jumper, or running dribble handoffs with Tyrese Maxey. But for some reason, and this is where I lost my mind at Nick Nurse decided down the stretch that he was going to run 5 straight post-up possessions for Embiid, even though Mitchell Robinson was absolutely battling Embiid on the block and already tired Embiid. And then Embiid started making tired and lazy decisions out of that. And it was just fucking run offense through Tyrese Maxey. Embiid had back-to-back bad turnovers that led to, transition buckets. It was a Deuce McBride bucket in transition and in an OG Anunoby dunk. And then Tyrese Maxey comes right back down, hits an and one floater over Jalen Brunson, missed the free throw, but it was kind of just there's the example right there. You should be running your offense through Tyrese Maxey, not Joel Embiid at this point. In that fourth quarter, I thought the Knicks were going to win because Tom Thibodeau did the smart thing, or not the smart thing, but he decided to counter and take Jalen Brunson off the court and give him rest while Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey were on the court. And the Knicks only lost those minutes by the score was still a 1-point game by the time Jalen Brunson checked back in. And it was oh boy, here we go. This is where the Sixers lose this. And there was plenty of points, just like I'm sure in Game 2, Knicks fans felt at plenty of points that the game was over for them. But in this game, there were just too many points where I felt like the Sixers were just going to lose this game. And with the way Embiid was playing, Kyle Lowry was ineffective in this game and was in foul trouble a lot. It just felt like it was done. And then the Knicks, just dumb execution down the stretch of these games. Fouling Maxey on a 4-point play to cut the lead to 2. Josh Hart passing the ball to Josh Hart first of all, and then Josh Hart getting fouled and going 1 for 2. and then not fouling while up 3 and allowing Maxey to take one of the best shots I have ever seen a 76er make. Just flat out. Maxey would not let this team lose. 7 points in 17 seconds. And then in overtime, everybody was just I love this series because everybody's like playing 35 plus minutes, and it's a 7-man rotation at this point for, you know, each team. Especially with the Knicks not having Bojan Bogdanovic, Tibbs is just straight up going with a 7-man rotation. And if guys like DiVincenzo don't play well, Miles McBride can come in. Deuce McBride has not missed a fucking shot in this series, by the way. I am like convinced. And then every 3-pointer Deuce McBride does actually miss, it's not, you know, the Sixers don't grab the rebound, or they get in a scrum for a loose ball off of an offensive rebound with the Knicks, and they end up getting a new possession, and then the Knicks score. Or Deuce McBride will just make his shots. It's just infuriating and scary when Deuce McBride is in, because I swear he was 2 for 7 from 3, and every 3 he took, I was terrified. But regardless, the Sixers really did tough it out in overtime, and I thought Embiid did show up in overtime and made some big plays. The Jalen Brunson drives that, well, there was 1 3 Embiid gave up off of a drop coverage where I wished he had just played at the level. And then there was another one where Jalen Brunson did a quick shot layup, drove right by Embiid. Embiid was right there, but just didn't have any lift to block the shot. But the other times, closed off Jalen Brunson drives, got a steal on the baseline when Jalen Brunson was driving on him, and Embiid stonewalled him, got a block. Embiid also made a very crucial and one that put the Sixers up 4. Embiid was fantastic defensively in this game, and that's the conundrum with this. I saw a tweet from Sarit Sohi, who writes for The Ringer. She said that Embiid has been both unplayable and essential, and I have never seen a combination like that. And I think that tweet perfectly describes the game that Embiid had, because he had a triple-double, but he was awful as a scorer, a decision maker as a scorer, scoring the ball in general, shooting. His passing was great. Legitimately, I thought his passing was really good through 3 quarters. And then the 4th quarter, you got the classic tired, heavy legs, lazy passes, long or short on the jumper, and was just an abject disaster in the 4th quarter, but was still having an impact defensively. And then in overtime, he really just took over the game on both sides of the floor. And Tyrese Maxey also had some points in overtime too, but Embiid really did bounce back and have a good overtime. And then you look down, he has the most inefficient near quadruple double with turnovers that I have ever seen from a player. But sometimes that's why you need a co-star to lean on. And when Embiid has melted down like this, and he has had some meltdowns, I think his playoff shortcomings have been 85% due to injury. But you also can't deny that Embiid has also, you know, whether it was coming up small or not coming into the game with any energy at all, which was also the thing I did not like. Embiid sort of just coming into this game, I did not like the energy Embiid was coming in with. But he was still impactful. And, you know, people are going to throw out hot takes of like, well, Maxey is the guy now. Maxey is the guy. I would just like to point out that Maxey typically does better when Embiid is on the court. When Embiid is off the court, Maxey has not played well in this series, shooting-wise. And also all season when Embiid has been out, the Sixers are a lottery team, so let's pump the brakes on that. The Sixers definitely needed Maxey last night. The Sixers definitely needed Maxey last night, though. And he made himself a legend, silencing the Madison Square Garden crowd for a second time, if not for the refs botching decisions and the Sixers choking Game 2 away. But man, this is a fun series, man. It really is. Tom Thibodeau was, you know, more inclined to go with OG at the small ball 5. Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson only played 25 minutes each, going with the defensive coverage that really flummoxed Embiid in the 4th quarter of Game 4. And Tyrese Maxey just stopped all that shit. Oh boy, can't believe there's going to be a Game 6 tomorrow.